Now, Cuba's crisis is getting worse day by day. Nationwide blackouts, empty fuel reserves and also a collapsing power grid are pushing daily life to the edge. This year, in the month of March, Cuba had suffered 3 major nationwide grid failures, and now the crisis has spiraled even further. Crumbling infrastructure, years of poor maintenance and shrinking fuel imports have crippled the island's electricity network. The Cuba's state-run power utility currently produces barely 40% of the fuel that it needs, forcing the country to depend heavily on foreign oil imports and against the escalating crisis. Now, Cuba has further announced that it has run out of diesel and fuel oil on Thursday, deepening one of the worst energy emergencies in its history. And since then, across Havana, businesses have shut down, traffic signals have stopped working, and public transport has almost nearly disappeared. Several districts have endured electricity cuts lasting up to 22 hours a day. The food, fuel and medicine shortages have further intensified public frustration, with protests now spreading across parts of the capital. Now, the country's power grid has suffered another partial collapse, leaving large areas of eastern Cuba, including the country's second-largest city, Santiago de Cuba, to be without electricity. The authorities later restored some limited power to some essential services, but millions continue to face disruption.
The situation is terrible. There is nothing we can do about it. These are things that happen, and there is no solution in sight. I cannot tell you anything else because, believe me, this is very delicate. I cannot say more or tell you what I really think.
This is very complicated, and it is affecting people badly. As you can imagine, the country has a fuel shortage, and that is not hidden. That is not a lie. Our economy has hit rock bottom. There is no investment to do anything, and this is the reality we are left with.
And amidst the deepening crisis, the CIA's Director John Ratcliffe has held some rare high-level talks in Havana with senior Cuban officials, including Raul Castro's grandson, the Cuban Interior Minister, and also the head of the Cuban Intelligence Services. Discussions reportedly focused on economic stability, security, cooperation and migration, and humanitarian support. Ratcliffe was reportedly there to personally deliver and US President Donald Trump's message that America is prepared to engage on economic and security issues after having imposed this blockade, which has caused these problems. But it has also said that it will engage with Cuba only if Cuba makes some fundamental changes. And according to an official statement from the Cuban government, the visit was arranged at the behest of the US government against the backdrop of the quote-unquote complex bilateral relations. The United States had earlier in the week, remember, offered about $100 million in terms of humanitarian aid and satellite internet support. Havana says that it is willing to examine the American proposal, but it clearly wants clarity on conditions attached to the American aid, even as the country is staring at the possibility of a complete blackout because of the American blockade. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.